Donald Trump's approach to trade policy has been heavily centered around tariffs, a strategy he has consistently defended as a means to protect American industries, bring back manufacturing jobs, and reduce the United States trade deficit. While the rhetoric behind this policy might sound appealing on the surface, the economic reality tells a different story. Tariffs in practice have led to unintended consequences, including increased costs for American consumers, job losses in industries reliant on imported goods, and strained relations with key trading partners. In this video, we will take a deep dive into Trump's tariffs, what they were, why they were implemented, their economic consequences, and how they have shaped the current trade landscape. This analysis will rely on economic data, expert opinions, and historical context to provide a clear picture of why tariffs, in this case, were not an effective solution to America's trade challenges. Tariffs are taxes imposed by a government on imported goods. When the United States imposes tariffs on foreign products, it makes those goods more expensive for American importers. The goal of tariffs is typically to encourage domestic production by making foreign alternatives less competitive in terms of price. Trump justified his tariff policies primarily through three arguments: protecting American industries from foreign competition, reducing the United States trade deficit, and revitalizing domestic manufacturing. His administration imposed tariffs on a wide range of products, most notably steel, aluminum, and Chinese imports under Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974. These tariffs targeted hundreds of billions of dollars in goods and led to a trade conflict with major economic partners, including China, Canada, and the European Union. While Trump claimed that tariffs would restore American industrial strength, many economists warned that such policies would backfire by increasing costs, reducing economic efficiency, and triggering retaliatory measures from other nations. One of the most misleading claims made about tariffs is that they are paid by the foreign country being targeted. In reality, the cost of tariffs is borne by the businesses and consumers in the country implementing them. When the United States imposes a tariff on Chinese goods, for example, it is not China that pays the tax. It is the American companies that import these goods and ultimately the consumers who purchase them. A study conducted by economists from the Federal Reserve, Princeton University, and Columbia University found that the entire cost of Trump's tariffs was passed on to American buyers. Prices of tariffed goods increased substantially, making products more expensive for both businesses and consumers. Industries that rely on imported components, such as the auto and manufacturing sectors, saw their costs rise sharply. As a result, companies were forced to either pass these costs on to consumers or cut expenses elsewhere, often leading to job losses and reduced investment in growth. The burden was especially heavy on small businesses that lacked the financial flexibility to absorb these added costs. One of the primary arguments for tariffs was that they would protect and create American jobs. However, the actual results tell a different story. While some industries that directly benefited from tariffs, such as domestic steel producers, experienced short-term gains, many more industries suffered losses. For example, the auto industry, which relies heavily on steel and aluminum imports, saw significant increases in production costs. This led to higher vehicle prices and job cuts as companies sought to offset losses. General Motors and Ford reported that Trump's tariffs cost them over $1 billion each, which directly impacted their ability to maintain employment levels and invest in new projects. Similarly, industries that depend on exports were hit hard by retaliatory tariffs from other countries. American farmers, for instance, faced severe economic consequences when China imposed tariffs on United States agricultural products in response to Trump's measures. Before the trade war, China was the largest market for American soybeans. Once tariffs were implemented, soybean exports plummeted, forcing the United States government to provide over $28 billion in aid to struggling farmers. While the intention behind these tariffs may have been to support American workers, the actual effect was economic disruption that disproportionately harmed industries dependent on global trade. A major flaw in Trump's tariff strategy was the assumption that other countries would not respond with tariffs of their own. In reality, trade wars are rarely one-sided. When the United States imposed tariffs on China, the Chinese government retaliated by placing tariffs on American goods. This led to escalating tensions that resulted in a full-blown trade war. which negatively impacted businesses on both sides. The trade war disrupted supply chains, increased economic uncertainty, and led to lower global trade volumes. Beyond China, key allies such as Canada and the European Union also imposed retaliatory tariffs on American products, further complicating the situation. This affected a wide range of industries from agriculture to manufacturing and strained diplomatic relations with long-standing economic partners. Another core justification for Trump's tariffs was the goal of reducing the U.S. trade deficit. Trump often pointed to the trade imbalance with China as evidence that the U.S. was losing in global trade. However, trade deficits are not inherently bad. A trade deficit simply means that a country imports more goods and services than it exports. The U.S. has run trade deficits for decades, yet it remains one of the largest and most prosperous economies in the world. Ironically, despite the tariffs, the U.S. trade deficit actually increased during Trump's presidency. Instead of reducing imports and boosting domestic manufacturing, tariffs led to higher costs for businesses and consumers, further exacerbating economic inefficiencies. Even after Trump left office, many of the tariffs remained in place, creating long-term economic consequences. Supply chain disruptions caused by tariffs have contributed to inflation, and businesses have had to find alternative suppliers, often at a higher cost. Additionally, some of the relationships damaged by Trump's trade policies have yet to fully recover. Countries that once relied on American agricultural products, for instance, have diversified their suppliers, making it more difficult for U.S. farmers to regain lost market share. Economists widely agree that protectionist policies like tariffs are not a sustainable solution to economic challenges. Instead, investing in domestic innovation, workforce development, and trade agreements that facilitate fair competition are more effective ways to strengthen the U.S. economy. So, what can we learn from Trump's tariff policies? Tariffs are paid by American consumers and businesses, not foreign countries. They often lead to job losses rather than job gains. Retaliatory tariffs can harm key industries such as agriculture and manufacturing. Trade deficits are not inherently harmful and cannot be fixed through tariffs alone. Long-term economic damage can result from disrupted trade relations and supply chains. While the intention behind Trump's tariffs may have been to protect American industry, the actual consequences suggest that they did more harm than good. Going forward, a more strategic approach to trade policy, one that emphasizes cooperation, investment in domestic industries, and fair trade agreements, is likely to yield better results. That concludes our deep dive into the impact of Trump's tariffs. If you found this video informative, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.